Hustle culture has normalized dysregulation in the name of ambition. And it's almost like we can hide all these negative consequences of that program under the guise of productivity. And if you're in the creative culture, you might have even noticed that it's almost a badge of honor the more dysregulated and stressed you are. And I just want to call bullshit on all of that. Because I'm seeing so many creatives that are chasing visibility, virality, overworking themselves while quietly losing their true connection to themselves. And that's fucking heartbreaking because that's where you actually give your deepest creative gifts from. And it's all based on this assumption that success must cost you your body, your boundaries, your nervous system, and even your soul. But that is not real success. And so in this video, I want to break down the myth of making it at any costs, to know the signs that your body is really paying the price of that, and how to reframe and redefine success in a way that aligns with your core values and what feels good in your body. Because chances are, it's not what everybody else is doing. Would you believe that? So if you're new here, my name's Kev. I'm an award-winning furniture designer, and I help ambitious creatives get into their bodies, become more emotionally intelligent, so that they can give their gifts with more deep presence and impact. So the myth of making it at any cost. Nobody talks about this, and it's just this kind of assumption that if you're creative, you have to subscribe to burnout culture. You know, you have to subscribe to pushing yourself to the very brink of exhaustion, burnout, and stress if you want to, quote, make it. But I would encourage you to take a pause and really question what that version of making it actually means, you know? If it's a lack of sleep, if it's constant stress, digestive issues, unfulfilling relationships, no time, no space for things that bring you joy, I don't think that's making it. Sure, you might get the likes, you might even get the money, but is your nervous system really worth that, you know? And it takes really getting real with that. If your answer to that is yes, it is worth frying my adrenals and just completely blowing out my nervous system and burning out so that I have the chance of becoming, quote, successful. I encourage you to pursue that if that's what's in alignment for you. But chances are you have a different blueprint to success. What feels authentic to you likely won't be the ultra extreme regiment of the people that are saying you need to work 27 hours a day. And while there's a half-truth in that, right? There's a half-truth in the devotion and the meaningful giving of your energy on the things that are really, really worthwhile and leveraged, sure. But most of the time, people are just fucking sitting around and busying themselves, not actually being truly productive, which busy is not productive, right? Productivity is being deeply attuned to what you want to accomplish, to what you want to give, in giving that. Not the amount of it that you give, not the 1,000 quantity of output that you put out into the world, but the way that you are present fully with the task at hand. And it's not hard to look around that we're all addicted to dopamine, most of us. We're all distracted, a little numb, and so it's hard to actually do the things that are most meaningful to us. Because we're so used to just being busy, we don't allow the space to pause and really question, what is the most impactful thing I can do right now? Which might be nothing. Would you believe that, you know? So I just really want to throw how culture just worships burnout like a badge of honor. Like, oh, you burned out, dude. You must have been working. You must have gotten so much shit done. And your body's just fucking screaming at you, you know? And inside of that, like, there's all this pressure to like trade our authenticity for whatever's gonna work on the algorithm in today's day and age. And God, you know, that gets underneath my skin. You know, I'll be the first to own that's a trigger of mine, because it's like, your gift as a creative is to connect most deeply to you and yourself, and to express fully from that place, and to be in that expression, and to direct it and cater it to the right people. Of course, like, we need to play and experiment with our messaging, our marketing, all of that. But I see people 100% focused on what's working in the algorithm right now, as opposed to what's feeling really alive for me right now. Because chances are, if it feels alive for you, it's going to feel alive for someone else. And this small channel that I'm growing is such a great litmus test for that, because every day I get people saying how grateful they are that I'm sharing these weird little crevasses of my human experience, what I'm learning, because it's exactly what they're feeling, you know? So when you do what's right for you, most connected to you, it's also what's right for everyone else. So then we don't need to fucking push through as much. We don't need to make that like our mantra. We can listen to our body. When our body is screaming, no, slow down, we actually listen to it, you know? And so how do you know when your body's at that point? What are like the signs of paying the price of this hustle burnout culture? You know, it's the chronic tension that you don't even know you're holding in your body anymore, you know? But if you're having digestive issues, if you're not sleeping at night, if you can't name an emotion that you're feeling right now, that's probably a good sign that you are teetering on the edge of burnout. If you're emotionally numb, which, hey, I was emotionally numb for pretty much my entire life, it's time to activate some aliveness in your body, to pause, to slow down, to breathe, you know? And so if we're constantly in this fight or flight activation, thinking it's motivation, but really it's our body just completely like ready to freaking fight a tiger, that's, you know, you're paying the price. That's having a huge effect on your physiology, your mental well-being, your nervous system. You know, that's just cortisol and epinephrine all day long. Your adrenals are getting fried, all that stuff, you know. And even to the more kind of outward expression, like if your creative work feels like a threat even, you know? I mean, I know I've been at places where I'm like, no, I need to work, no, I need to get this thing done, or I want to get it done, but I'm like, oh no, like I can't, like having this kind of threat and pushing it off and procrastinating. That's probably a good sign. If you're not in the full expression of your creativity and giving your gifts for the joy of it, that's probably a good sign that you're storing a lot of tension in your body, and that is going to have a huge impact, you know. And your nervous system is going to have a limit, you know, and everyone's limit's different, you know. If you're really like delicate and sort of fragile, you're going to feel this exponentially more quickly and profoundly. Now, if you're like built like an absolute ox, you might be able to make this quote work for a while, you know. That's why most of the people who you see barking up a storm about hustle, work 18 hours a day, screw connecting with your wife, whatever it is, those people are tanks, right? You look at them, they're like absolute gym bros, which, hey, beautiful if that's you. But those people's bodies can sustain those extremes likely more than yours can. So it's not to not listen to them, it's just to have discernment into what registers as a yes and a no in your body, because that deserves reverence. So the nervous system is really the soil of your creative life, you know. The more safety you are, the more deep creative potency you're going to be able to give to the world. People think of regulation as this end goal, peace as this end goal, but it's really the foundation, you know. It's not a place to get to, it's a place to begin from, you know. When you're regulated, you can actually hear your intuition. You can connect to your body. You have the capacity to be in your gut so that you can make great decisions, Not to mention that when you are safe, you can take more aligned risks that are coming from this place of connection, not what other people think you should do, but not this panic, urgent driven kind of risk, but this real connected, this is what feels alive and I know I can do this type of risk. That's a lot different, right? That's powerful, that's magnetic. And so when you stop overriding yourself and your nervous system capacity, you allow your creative flow to emerge from your center, right? That's beautiful. And think of all the ways that your body and your life starts to respond to that shift, And this is what helps you reclaim a new definition of success. Because what if success felt like peace in your body? Not the pressure on your shoulders and chest and mind and all these things. That sounds like a pretty good idea of success, So what if making it is actually being deeply resourced, having the tools to downshift and regulate and to know how to take a pause and connect to yourself? What if making it is living in alignment with what you value? If what you value is community, connection, creativity, how do those become the pillars of your everyday life? That sounds like a successful life to me, And what if making it is creating from this overflow, this abundance of energy inside of you, not from depleting your whole system of life force so that you can give that last idea? What if it's knowing how to fill your own cup so that it's overflowing? That just seems much more sustainable. Now, what are the metrics to that? It's not necessarily going to be the same, likes, cash, all of those things. It hopefully will have those impacts over time, but the new litmus test can be like, does this feel good in my body? Does this feel good in my system? And if not, how do I take a moment to pause, to breathe, to ask, how can I enjoy this 10% more? How can I make this feel better in my system? How can I show up as more of my full, whole, sovereign self right now? Because it's not just about high performing. It's not about wearing the mask that you need to wear so that you get what you want. It's about connecting to you. Being in connection with what feels most alive to you in your body and giving from that place. Because the world doesn't want your burnout. As much as culture gestures people in that direction, you're good for nothing at that point. I'm sorry. The world wants your deep presence, your connection to your vitality, your connection to what it means to be alive in your body, expressing what only you can express creatively. That's magnetic, and that's going to lead to a beautiful life. So, if any of that tickles your fancy, you would love the Embodied Creator Toolkit. It's my training, a series of experiments to help you get into your body and give your gifts more fully from a place of regulation, with all sorts of fun ways to experiment and make it fun. But in the meantime, I really value you being here. Thanks for giving me your time and space, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Ciao.